Chio has brought up several times whether or not a state is going to be able to have the resources, the personnel to be able to actually enforce what's going to be necessary responsible energy development on it. As I read the legislation in Section 2, it states that the Secretary has to determine that the state applicant has sufficient administrative and technical personnel and sufficient funding to carry out the state regulatory program. Ms. Forrester, does that sound to you like that covers that issue?
That adequately covers that issue. And as I've said before, in Alaska, we are much better equipped to do it. In fact, we already are. There will be nothing new dumped upon us that we are not already duplicatively doing with the BLM. In fact, it will ease our burden because we won't have to be talking back and forth. Often we're explaining to them how they should do things, and we will no longer have to do that.
And Mr. Nats, I think certainly important in my state, I think important in every state, to responsibly develop the resources. Is there anything in this bill draft that you are seeing that undercuts the environmental requirements?
No, I think, Congressman, you outlined that we, again, are supportive of the bill and the outline of how it would move forward. And, you know, I think it is a key part that there are safeguards. The Secretary does have safeguards. If states don't have a program in place, then they can pull that back. But this is certainly a creative approach that we think would help the energy industry and the American people have access to these valuable resources across the country.
Mr. Tipton, if I could just address the point you made earlier about the personnel and sufficient funding. I'm reading that section, though. It says to carry out the state regulatory program. And so the key distinction is that there's the scope of the state regulatory program is much smaller and constrained. We heard Ms. Forrester say her knowledge deals with downhole. It's very constrained compared to what would be transferred in terms of trying to now oversee the responsibilities that BLM has. So it's not getting to the critical question.
Where I think we might disagree on that, Ms. Pacino, as I'm reading the entire draft legislation, is it's still up to the approval of the Secretary. There is still federal law that's going to be in place. And take a state like Colorado, sounds like the state of Alaska as well. They're more comprehensive because they are local. They are the people, just as you noted, neighbors and friends who do live there, that care about the land, care about the water, and want to be able to see that responsible energy development, that it isn't going to be an ad hoc system.